I got so much to talk about. I got pages and pages of notes we're going to go through today. I've been teaching this stuff for 27 years. The reason I love teaching about money is not so much, believe it or not, because I want you to have a certain amount of money. It's not so much the money as what the money can do for you. And here's what I believe about personal finance. I believe that when you fix your finances, you free yourself to live your best life. And I believe that when you fix your finances, you free your soul to fly. Learning about money can be simple. It can be easy. It can be fun. And the most important thing, it can be actionable. Let's control the controllables. So you want to build wealth, we got to control the controllables. And I'm going to take you on the journey a little bit, not all of it, but I'm going to take you on the journey that is inside this book, The Automatic Millionaire. I'm going to walk you through this concept of how to build wealth by paying yourself first automatically. Super simple, but life-changing. So I'm going to share the 5 questions with you because then you can ask them to yourself and then ultimately you can ask this of other people. These are the questions that will determine if you'll build financial security. Question number 1, do you want to be rich? Yes? How many of you would just like to be out of debt? Does anybody want to admit to that? Like, I just want to be out of debt. Okay. How many of you are like, I don't need to be rich. I just want to be financially secure. You see, if you just want to be financially secure, right? So here's the question behind this question. Why do you want what you want? I learned young that for most people, money is not enough to actually motivate them to do all the work that needs to be done to become wealthy. There's all kinds of obstacles that will come in your way to building wealth. You can't get rich in days. It takes decades typically. But when you are clear on what's most important to you and it's based on your values, when you answer the question for yourself, I want to be financially secure because of, and it's a value answer. I want to protect my family. I want to pass a legacy to my children. I want to give back to my church. I want to be able to give back to my community. When you can answer the question with your core values, you will then become an unstoppable force because your values will pull you through the difficult times to achieve your goals. One of the biggest reasons people fail financially is the way they spend their money is actually in conflict with their values. When your values are clear, your financial decisions become easier. This takes me to question number 2. And question number 2 is this: do you pay yourself first? When you pay yourself first, what you show yourself every day is that you're putting yourself first. How much to pay yourself first? 1 hour a day of your income minimum. So whatever you're earning, that first hour a day from 9 to 10, that's got to come off the top and go into a retirement account. Now in the United States, that would be an IRA account, or that would be a 401k plan. If you're self-employed, it would be a SEP, self-employed retirement account. Now, again, I can't go through every single country, but like in Canada, it'd be like an RSP account. So you got to do your own research on what account it is. But the most important thing is the math. 1 hour a day of your income is 12.5% of your gross income. Now, I will tell you this, that's a minimum number that you should save. That's not a maximum number. It's a minimum number. Your goal should be minimum 1 hour a day of your income. For those of you who are self-employed, it should be minimum. Your goal should be 15% or more of your income going to you automatically for yourself. This is what's going to give you financial confidence, knowing that you're taking your income and putting it away for yourself for the future. Why don't people do this? Do you want to be rich? Do you pay yourself first? The third thing was this: do you save 1 hour a day of your income? Which takes me to question number 4. And that is, do you save money automatically. How does the average American build wealth on an ordinary income? They save money automatically. I started my career at Morgan Stanley. I was there for 9 years as a financial advisor. It used to be complicated to save money automatically. Like if you came to my office, they were called systematic investment plans, and the paperwork was like 7 pages long. But we would encourage all of our clients, anybody who came to my seminars, even if you're just saving $50 a month, we would encourage our clients to save automatically. And the reason was what we saw firsthand is that no one would save for more than 2 to 3 months unless it was automatic. People would say, oh, no, I'm super disciplined. I don't need to do it this way. People used to be afraid to have money taken from their paychecks and invested automatically. That's really not the case anymore. But people were afraid to do this movement of their money automatically. But the problem is people wouldn't save unless it was automated. So many Americans, and this is also true all over the world, so many people have built wealth because they just set something up once, forgot about it, left it alone, and next thing you know, 20 years go by, 25 years go by, 30 years go by, and they've built massive wealth because the savings was automatic. The key is automation. The key is no budget. Budgeting takes time. Budgeting creates fights. Budgeting is boring. Automation is beautiful. Which takes me to question number 5. Do you know what your latte factor is? People always say to themselves and to me, I don't have the money to save automatically. I can't do that. And so I started showing people, what small amounts of money, $5 a day, $10 a day could change your life. And it can, by the way, can completely change your life. You got to start somewhere. But if you don't believe you have the money and you tell yourself that, you'll never save. So the thing about $5 a day is you start saving in your 20s, you can have $1 million by the time you reach retirement. Now, it's not enough. $5 a day now is not enough. You need to save more than that. But you need to figure out what your latte factor is. Nobody's probably going to Starbucks right now. You're making coffee at home. Oh my God, and guess what? You survived. People would say to me, I cannot give up my coffee. There's no way. And somehow we've all survived making coffee at home for a year. Some of you here have a lot more money than you actually had a year ago because you're not spending anything, right? You're not eating out. You're not going out for coffee. Our expenses have been reduced. When we start to go back to a new normal, the question becomes, do you keep some of these good habits or do you just go out and spend money again? Now, one of the reasons the market's up so much is because we're expecting everybody to rush out and spend a ton of money and everybody ready to party. I want to show you something based on this idea of partying. What do you think it costs to blow $10,000 a year? It's $27.40 a day. What it takes to blow $10,000 in a year is $27.40 a day, which is less than most people make an hour. $27.40 a day in the US, you can blow that so easily, right? That's $10,000 in a year. For many of you, that would build your emergency account. That would start your retirement account. What happens if you took that money and you invested? I know it's a lot of money, $27 a day, but what would happen? In 20 years, if you were in the S&P 500 fund and the market did what it's done the last 30 years, you'd have $572,000. What if it went out 30 years? $27.40 a day. You'd have $1,644,000 in 30 years. What if I went out 40 years? This is where the numbers go crazy. You'd have $4,424,000 potentially. By the way, did you just see that astronomical growth? Because sometimes if you don't really know compound interest, this is the miracle of compound interest. This is the part that blows the mind away. How can this go from $572,000 and in 10 years be worth 3 times more? And in 20 years be worth almost 10 times more? That's because money's making money. And that's the whole key. It's so good to be with everyone here. Wow. What I want to do today is share with you a tool that I learned about 15 years ago that really changed my life, that allowed me to focus much better than I used to focus. And even though, I'm known as the financial person on Growth Day, to me, the money is just a tool to help free you live your best life. I'm going to give you a tool today that you can use for money, but you can use it for your health. You can use it for your marriage. You can use it for being a parent. It looks simple, but it's complicated and hard to actually put in place. So I'm going to give you a couple quotes right now, and you can just write these quotes out. So number one is control your time or someone else will. The one thing in life that we actually can't get back is our time. You can lose money and you can make it again. You can lose friendships and you can get them back. The one thing you can't get back is your time. And I'm going to encourage you to learn how to put a wall around yourself and other people's request of your time if it's not truly what you want to focus on. So that's number one. Number two, deciding what not to do is often more important than what to do. People have recurring thoughts, everyone, all human beings. Number one is, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? We're always asking ourselves, am I going to be okay? It's literally wired into a 2.3 million year old brain of ours. Then once we get past the point sometimes of, am I going to be okay? The next question we're all running around with is, what am I going to do with my life? What happens so often when we have so many things on our plate, we say, well, I don't know what I want to do. And what I can tell you is when you start to strip away other people requesting your time and you don't have a long to-do list, you will start to be able to listen to your soul and figure out what it is you're supposed to do with your life. Which takes me to number three. Focusing is hard, scary, and confusing. And I can also tell you, it gets easier with time and it creates a beautiful life. That's the benefit, which takes me to number four. No is a complete sentence. And that takes me to number five, which is this idea that doing less allows you to live more. Let me go into with this story that changed my life. So what happened about a little over 15 years ago is that I was working on a big corporate partnership. And this was a financial service company that I was super excited to partner with. We prospect them. They reach back out to us. It's going to be this big, giant deal. And I come into my office and my assistant says to me and my team, I have some very bad news. You're going to want to sit down for this. And I go, what? And they're like, well, you're going to need to read the email. And I get this email from the founder of the company. And the email says, David, we were so excited to work on this partnership with you. I was really looking forward to being in business with you. But I'm really unfortunately sorry to say that it's not you, it's us. And we unfortunately are not going to be able to go forward on this partnership now. We're not saying, these are lines, my friends, that you can use yourself in so many ways. We are not saying no, we're saying not now. I hope we can continue the relationship maybe later. So fast forward about a year and a half, 2 years later, and I see that his business has been sold. And it's sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I send him an email and I'm like, wow, congratulations. Like, you did it. And I'm so happy for you. And he immediately replies to me and he says, oh my gosh, David, it's so good to hear back from you. I'm so sorry we didn't go into business together. One of the reasons we didn't go business together is I was working on this whole thing to just pull off what we just did. And, he's like, but I'm coming through New York and I'd love to take you out for that cup of coffee. And he takes me to coffee and we have a beautiful breakfast together at a restaurant called Bubby's. And we go back to my office in Tribeca. And in my office, I had two giant whiteboards. On the left whiteboard was the year's goals. So that the whole company could come into my office and we'd have meetings and we'd look at this whiteboard. Here's what we're focused on for the year. And that whiteboard was completely filled. Then I had a second whiteboard of all the to-dos that we were working on. And that whiteboard was completely filled. So back to the story, calling him M, he comes into my office and he says, you asked me a question. What did you do differently that your competitors didn't do? And he said, we focused. He goes, want me to show you how he did it? Yeah, I would love to. He goes, okay. He turns around in the office and he goes, can I erase your whiteboards? And the erasers are sitting on the bottom of the whiteboard. And I go, yeah, sure. Well, first I go, yeah, okay, right? Someone's just made over $100 million. Yeah, you can erase my whiteboards. So we get the whiteboards totally clean. And he says, okay, and this is what he told me. He goes, I can't believe this, but this is the truth. He goes, I had an office like yours. I had a whole wall. The whole wall was our whiteboard. And we had all these goals on our whiteboard. And he said, one day there was a realization in the company that if we were going to survive, we had to focus because we were just scattered. And the board was putting heat on us to focus. And so we had a week-long retreat. And we made a decision that we would focus in on one thing. And we would take our whiteboard, completely erase it, and put one thing on that whiteboard that we would focus on. He's like, what we literally did was put one thing on the left-hand side. We drew a line down the wall. We called that our yes now. It actually was like our number one to do. He called it the number one to do. He's like, and then we had a not to do list, which I now call the not now list. And he's like, everything that we were working on, and you, David, were one of those things, instead of just throwing it away, it literally got put on the not now list. And the entire company got restructured to focus on the one thing. And I'm like, well, how did that go over? And he's like, it was super hard because people are used to working on so many things and everything had to be revamped around one thing. He goes, but what happened is over time, he's like, when people would come into my office, because if you run a company, this happens, everyone comes in your office. And by the way, if you're a parent, the kids come in your room, right? There's always somebody coming in and wanting something from you. And he's like, when people would come in, if they were asking me to do something, work on something, want my feedback on something, I would ask the question immediately, is this related to our one thing that we're focused on? Because if it's not, then you can't even bring it to me. You can go put it over on the not now list, and the not now list had stickies, right? So like you can take it and put it on the not now. This was his thing. He'd make a sticky and and you can sign it, and we might look at it later, but we're not looking at it now. Remember, we made this commitment for the next year that we're focused on this one thing. And ultimately, because he focused on this one thing and that one thing worked, and basically they tripled down and quadrupled down on what was working best. That's what allowed him to sell the company for hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.